Good evening, lunatics, friends, and family, to the Blue Ribbon Podcast, where we do our very best to bring you into the world of trucking, dispel a bunch of the myths and nonsense that's being spread about, and give you the best information that we can based on our history and experience to give you what you need to start a new trucking business and have one that actually lasts the test of time. Boy, are we going to have some fun tonight because we're going to talk about Landstar and the contract percentage. I did a video on this in 2020 and it was a pretty good video. I don't take back anything that I said there, but 5 years ago, I didn't quite have the understanding that I do now about about the contract, about how it all works. You know, when Larry had his medical event in January of 2024, basically I had to take over the company. I had to take over all the payroll and the accounting. And since then, we've moved to platform and we've added trailers. And so I've just gotten a much, much better understanding of how everything works. And so everything that I said in the first video is still accurate. But what I want to do tonight is go deeper, right? There's just a lot to it. And it's not, by the way, Landstar does not take 35% of my money. Okay. So we can start right there. Actually, we could end the show. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. And that's it, because Landstar does not take 35% of my money. And I'm going to spend the next hour or so. I've got a little slideshow. Listen, I'm taking this serious, y'all. I've got a little slideshow for us to go through, and we will start at the beginning. Okay. And we're going to work our way through. There's two ways, essentially, to operate a truck. You can do it under your own authority. You can do it under someone else's authority. It is our position, and always has been, that for the first time owner operator, someone who's never been in business before, should lease their truck to a carrier first. Let's get all the mistakes out of the way. Let's get all the missteps out of the way, because they're coming. It's not if you're going to make mistakes, it's when, and how much are they going to cost you. If you will lease to a carrier, doesn't have to be Landstar. It's my position that Landstar is the best place to do this. They have the best infrastructure. They have the best support system for the first time owner operator, because you can make a lot of those mistakes that would 100% put you out of business if you had your own authority. You can make those mistakes at Landstar and live to tell about it and recover from it. So we're going to, because I'm sure the comments are going to be full of just babbling incoherent nonsense tonight. So a wise man once said to me, you have two ears and one mouth, and sometimes you ought to use one twice as much as you do the other. We have been at Landstar since 2013. I have been at Landstar since 2014. I promise you that I know a little more about how the contract works than your buddy on TikTok. So, without any further ado, let us begin. Does Landstar take 35% of my money? No, they do not. This is the biggest thing for me, because where does the money come from? Okay. It comes from the customer. Shippers, for the most part, pay the bills. If a trucking company or a broker is getting a check, the check is coming from the customer. So let's first start with, it's not my money. It's not my money. Now, we can certainly say, well, if I had my own authority, they're going to write me the check. Well, that's true. That's true. What the ultimate question has to be is whose money is it going to end up being? Is it going to end up being the insurance company's money? Is it going to end up being the fuel company's money? Is it going to end up being the shop company's money? Is it going to end up being the regulatory apparatus? Whose money is going to who's going to get your money and how much of it's actually going to be left over for you when it is all said and done. Now, this year I just went into the spreadsheets, and this year from January through the end of July, our gross average gross rate per mile is $3.72. Yes, that's gross before Landstar. And there's a couple of really important reasons that we use the terminology that way. Number one, it recognizes and never leaves the customer out of the equation. Okay. Number two, it makes the math a lot easier. If I'm looking at a load on the board, I don't have to make all these goofy calculations to find out exactly how much the truck's going to get. I can reverse that backwards. I know I want $1,450 a day. I know I want to do that 4 days a week, and I want to have a $2,175 weekend load. I want to get $8,000 for the week. If I get my $8,000, everything's good. Everything's happy. We live to fight another day. It's also apples and apples, because if I'm basing my operation on the market, okay, and there's someone running alongside me who has their own authority, well, let's use the same numbers, because customers write checks and they're the only ones that write checks. So if we're going to have a number that is representative of what the customer is paying, then let's use the number that the customer's paying. And in our case, for our trucks, it's $3.72 for every loaded mile. Oh, and there's one more reason. We have trucks and trailers. Okay. Well, our trailers get their own settlement. So if I only talk about the tractor and that rate per mile, well, now I'm leaving out the trailer. Well, why overcomplicate this? Okay. But let's talk about the market just for a second. Okay. Just pulled this off of DAT 20 minutes ago before I started the show. National average flatbed rate, 247. Okay. National average van rate, 202, which means when you average the two of those together, I did not include reefer because we don't do reefer, but we do van and we do flatbed. We have an average rate in North America right now, in the United States, of $2.24. Again, ours is $3.72. So even if you believe the myth that leasing to a carrier is giving up all this money, well, it sounds like all it's doing is getting us down to the gross rate that you're going to get. So let's talk about the money flow, okay? Because this is so important. Notice that it always starts with the customer. The customer is going to pay a carrier, and the carrier is going to pay their driver. The customer is going to the customer is going to pay a broker, and that broker is going to pay a carrier, and then the carrier is going to pay the driver. And in our case, the customer pays Landstar. Landstar pays the truck, the trailer, and the agent off of the same freight bill, and then the driver / owner gets paid. It's very important to think about this, because if you're operating under your own authority, the customer gets an invoice, I should say. Okay. The broker gets a percentage. Okay. Now, I know y'all are not going to like this, but the fact of the matter, the statistical reality is that the average broker commission has always been, remains to be, and will probably forever be 15%. Okay. But you don't know, right? Everybody wants broker transparency because they want to know what the customer's paying. Well, I want to know what the customer's paying. Well, unfortunately, it's none of your business, right? If you want to know what the customer's paying, you're going to have to go around the broker and go do that work, right? And it's work. Let's not pretend like making phone calls and knocking on doors to get direct customers is not work. It is work. It's work that I would rather not do. It's work, frankly, I don't think I would be good at. And I'm good at a lot of stuff. And the stuff that I'm good at, I'm really, really good at. Making sales calls, not one of them, right? So why am I going to purposefully do something, number one, that I have no experience doing? I have no experience in sales. I have no experience in negotiating those types of terms and contracts. None whatsoever. Okay. So the broker's getting a percentage of that money. And listen, for I know there's those of you out there with your own authority that are killing it, that are doing a great job. And you have gone and gotten the direct customers, and I'm proud of you, and I congratulate you, and I have a ton of respect for you. But let's not pretend that our average truck driver friends are doing anything but living off of broker boards. Okay? That's just an undeniable fact. So that broker's getting a percentage. You don't know how much it is. It's probably 15. It's probably 20 or 25 on the high end, and it could be as low as 10. Okay. Now the carrier's going to get paid on some kind of terms, 60, 90, 180 days, because that's the market standard. The market standard is that the carriers are getting paid on 60, 90, 180 day terms. That's a month, 3 months, 6 months. They want you to do the work today, and they want you to get paid for it 6 months from now. So this is where the vultures come in, and the carrier is desperate for cash flow. So they get quick pay, give away a percentage. They get factoring, give away percentage. Well, how much does that cost? How much does it cost when you are giving so much of that money away on the back end through financing your invoices and selling your accounts receivable? Guys, it's just a math. It's just a math problem. It's just I'm looking at the big picture here, and I'm going, okay, well, the customer's paying X, and how many people are getting a piece of it along the way? Well, at Landstar, there's no question. None. Because the customer pays the invoice, Landstar pays the truck, Landstar pays the trailer, Landstar pays the agent, okay, which means the agent is getting, on average, half of what the broker is in the open market, because an agent can use Landstar's infrastructure, and there's a lot of cost and a lot of things that they don't have to expend because Landstar gives them access to that stuff. The BCO, we're paid every Wednesday with no recourse. If Landstar never gets paid, it's not an issue for me. Landstar has a very, very sizable credit department wherein if the customer doesn't have good credit, we're not hauling the load anyway. So there's another part of that massive infrastructure that we get to take advantage of that insulates us from the risk of doing work and not getting paid. So I don't spend a penny on accounts receivable, on quick pay, or in factoring, because Landstar gets paid. They pay the truck, they pay the trailer, they pay the agent. We get paid on Wednesday. If we scan the paperwork by Monday, the money hits the settlement card on Wednesday, and we're out nothing. Oh, let's go to the next slide. Okay. Now let's zoom out here. Let's go to the big picture. Every truck hauling freight in the United States must have the following. And this is if you're one truck or you're Night Swift with 25,000. You got to have a truck that comes with an acquisition and a maintenance cost. You got to have a trailer that comes with an acquisition and a maintenance cost. You have to get an MC number. You have to get all of the different insurances. And if you go back to last week's show where we talked to Redbeard, getting the insurance is half the battle. Having the right insurance is a whole other story. And he very eloquently explained to us that most people are horribly underinsured because all they care about is getting the government to activate their authority, and they want as little coverage as possible to make that happen. So cargo liability, bobtail unladen non-trucking liability, physical damage insurance. You have to maintain regulatory compliance. If you're one truck or you're Night Swift or Landstar, the requirement on you is exactly the same as it on them. And I promise you, they've got a few more bodies in cubicles to take care of that stuff than you do. Yeah, you have to pay your federal heavy use tax, your $550 $22.90. You got to have a way to bill customers and get paid, or you have to use a factoring company. That's your accounts receivable. You have to buy a way to have a way to buy fuel. So we're talking, you got to sign up with somebody, Comdata, EFS, Mudflap. You got to do bookkeeping and accounting. Obviously, trucks don't move without drivers. Okay. And if you're going to own a truck, I want to say this real clear. If you're going to own a truck and hire a driver, you're going to pay them on a W-2 properly and not on a 1099, which means you're going to incur a payroll expense. So bookkeeping, accounting, driver, and then workers' compensation insurance. Okay. What pains me and really saddens me, I guess, is the number of people that don't take setting their business up seriously enough that they're going to care about the person who's going to go actually do all the work and not provide them with workers' compensation insurance and not provide them with unemployment insurance and not paying into their Social Security and Medicare. Look, guys, I'm not a Social Security Medicare fan. If they'd let me out today, they could have everything I put in to this point. But the fact remains is that is the duty and responsibility of a business to provide those things for employees. And y'all find this way out by getting these dumb truck drivers to get paid on a 1099. And then you're off the hook if something happens to them. Y'all, that's wrong and immoral. Anyway, we'll get off that soapbox. Okay, so what's the difference? Well, at Landstar, we have to have a truck, we have to have a trailer. But if you pull a van, it's provided to you at no cost. I don't have any time spent getting an MC number. I don't have any time spent or money on cargo liability insurance. My bobtail unladen runs $33 a week. My physical damage is based on the value of the truck. Some of my trucks are $92 a month. One of them's $150. I have no time spent when it comes to compliance and making sure the truck's legal. If I have a problem, all right, I had a driver today. He's like, man, I can't find the registration for this trailer. And I'm like, let me make a phone call. In the email, instantly. We still have to pay the $22.90. All right, if you're going to have your own authority, you're going to have to subscribe to DAD or Truck Stop or one of these services. Ours is $3.69 a week. Again, no billing and no factoring. We don't spend a minute on billing other than the, 30 seconds that it takes to scan the paperwork in through TransFlow. And there's no factoring. So we're not giving away money on the back end. With Landstar, we get unmatched fuel discounts. We also get LCAP, where I can buy, just bought a steer tire yesterday for about half of what it costs retail. We have to do bookkeeping and accounting. Obviously, we have to have our driver payroll. And in our case, workers' comp. Now, Landstar has a thing called Contractor Protection Plan, but it depends on what state you were in. When Blue Ribbon was based in Kentucky, we had that it was $35 a week. When we moved the corporation to South Carolina, we have to pay workers' comp, and it's $75 a week for each of our employees. Landstar is a unique cooperative relationship. Cooperative relationships between owner-operators and independent contractor freight broker agents providing support services and operating authorities under one umbrella, promoting mutual respect, fairness, and equal opportunity. Y'all, if you fail at Landstar, it's your fault. And if you succeed, it's also your fault. Does Landstar have issues? Every big corporation does. But the benefits so far outweigh the risks that we take because we have this 800-pound gorilla behind us that is able to provide things for us that we cannot provide for ourselves in the open market. All right. So I'm trying to use this illustration to show you that you can think of Landstar really as a payment processor, really, in one sense. They're providing the safety department, the compliance. They do all the government reporting, the billing, and the collection. They give us the support, the purchasing power, the use of a trailer. And then the BCOs and the agents, we have absolute freedom to run our businesses any way that we want to. We can pull vans, we can pull platform, we can work 7 days a week, we can work 3 days a week. It doesn't matter. We can work with some agents and not with others. We can pull direct freight or we can pull third party. Everything that we do, we have the freedom to do it how we want to do it, and the agents have that freedom as well. What we all have is this umbrella over top of us. If we do have an issue with an agent, and have I had issues with agents? Sure, I have. Human beings are going to get in together with one another, and they're going to occasionally have some disagreements. And Landstar's there to help us work out those disagreements. But you've got to understand, and this is the part that I think is the most difficult for someone who was used to being an employee and now suddenly, by signing their name on a truck lease, have become a business owner. They have a hard time understanding that the agent is their customer. The agent is your customer. They're not your slave. They're your representative in the market. They're the person going out, knocking on the doors, making the phone calls so you don't have to. Okay. And yeah, that could be calling on C.H. Robinson loads to make them available for you. Okay. But they are your partner in this relationship. Okay. You guys have to work with one another. But so many people from day one come in with this adversarial attitude and behavior that instantly the agent's my enemy. Well, that's just not true. The agent has an objective that they're trying to get done. If you will work with them to help them meet their objective, they will work with you to help you meet yours. And if y'all really want to hate me, okay, the brokers are your customer too. I said what I said. Let's move along. This right here, okay, and this is something that I did not fully grasp until a few years in, and then really have grasped over the last 18 months. Most of us spend our time up there in that top left quadrant. And if I'd have thought about this, I should have put this at the bottom, because the van freight is the lowest paying freight there is. Now, does that mean that there's no good paying van freight? No, that's absolutely not true. There is some good paying van freight, but it pales in comparison to the platform, the heavy haul, the specialized government, AA&E. What I have found, what I have observed, what is my experience with working with BCOs, being one myself and running this fleet, there's a lot of people that will never make it out of van because they can't see the agent as their customer. And let me promise you, if you can't see the agent as your customer, you will never survive platform, heavy haul, or AA&E. You just won't. It requires an extra level. It requires a top 1% effort if someone is going to trust you with something that's 15 wide and 16 tall and hundreds of thousands of pounds, or something that weighs, that costs millions of dollars. They're not going to trust the person that cannot behave like a business owner, that wants to continue on with that employee mentality that everybody owes me everything because, well, I've got a CDL and I bought a truck, so y'all owe me $5 a mile. Well, cupcake, I'm sorry. That's just not true. Okay. You get what you earn. And so to make it out of van into these other opportunities that y'all, it's wild what I have seen just in the last 18 months from, I mean, we probably did 3 oversized loads this week. It changes the whole dynamic of everything, but we have to come to the table ready to work, ready to provide that service, ready to be the people that that agent wants to call. Okay. And it leads to different decisions. Last week we heard about a project. Okay. And when we say the word project, somebody's got a bunch of loads to move. Okay. So we get this spreadsheet and we're like, oh man, thousands of dollars and oh, this load pays this. But we had to stop and we had to go, okay, that load pays $10,000. Well, that's awesome. Okay. Well, now we want to get another one. Well, we got $10,000. We got $10 a mile. Okay. Do we bounce back? Do we try to load something back? Well, now we've got to start going, okay, well, when's the next load available on the project? Well, it's not ready until this point. Well, it's like when you hear that or you get that call, hey man, because obviously it's flattering when someone calls you and say, hey, I want you to be a part of this very special thing that we have. And you want to go, absolutely, yes, all in, big money. Pause. You got to get our friend out. You got to go, okay, well, what's the reality? What's the mathematical reality? We want to provide everything that we can for this agent that has this very big, very important project to handle. And if I could give you all of my trucks, that'd be awesome. Now, I can't cover the hundreds of loads that he has, right? I don't have that kind of capacity. But I also can't overpromise myself where I end up making $5,000 a week. Right. So we have to, even with the wonderful opportunities that come our way that never hit the board. These loads are never going to be posted on the load board. This is all previous experienced people that are on a list that have earned their way onto a list. But we still have to stop and say, okay, we want to do this, but what's the best thing for our business? We cannot overcommit. One, and then look like idiots because we didn't get the job done. But two, we also can't let our bottom line suffer because we went, oh, well, we'll just go get all these loads. And then it stretches out and stretches out and stretches out. Now, I will say there's an asterisk to that because if you're a BCO, one truck, not multiple like we are, where we don't have, I've got a big, I've got a big footprint, right? I have a lot of balls in the air. You probably could commit yourself to a project like that, and it works out for one truck, but a fleet is kind of a different animal. Phil says we've had a total of 7 oversized loads for the week. But understand that if you want to get to the big money, you're going to have big money behavior. And number one on that big money behavior list is putting someone else's needs ahead of your own. And that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow because I want mine first. Well, I need mine. I got to take care of me first. Well, doesn't always work that way. We promise you, we make you this commitment that if you will put others' needs ahead of your own, you will come out on the other side way far ahead of the person that does not. But it's not easy to do. So how does equipment get paid at Landstar? And I use that word specifically, equipment, because they're not paying you. When the settlement comes, ours has multiple pages, obviously, because we've got what, 8 trucks and like 5 or 6 trailers. It has our name down at the bottom. But on each individual page, they're paying the truck number, they're paying the trailer number. We own those pieces of equipment. And so the money's ours or what's left over, right? But we got to understand the truck has a contract, the trailer has a contract, the agent has a contract. And so when that revenue comes in, the truck is going to get 65% of the line haul, 65% of some accessorials, and 100% of others. And it's going to get 100% of the fuel surcharge. Well, when you calculate that fuel surcharge, the truck's getting more than 65% because that fuel surcharge ramps it up. So it's generally about 69. When the fuel gets higher, the percentage goes up. I've seen it be as high as 72 when the fuel prices went crazy. Okay. Then your trailer, 8% for a 2-axle flatbed, 9% for a 3, 10% for a 4. I think reefers get 10 also, but there's so few reefers. So please don't think you're coming to Landstar to haul reefers, because it's a very, 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 very limited opportunity. Okay. But that truck's going to get paid and that trailer's going to get paid. And then the agent is going to get paid. And depending on how their contract works and stuff, it's 7 to 9%, something like that. But understand, okay, because I know I didn't understand it when I first came. The agent doesn't get the money. So the idea that the agent can somehow manipulate the numbers, it's not possible, because the agent never gets the money, just like the truck never gets the money. And that's why I have such a hard problem with people saying, well, they're taking 35% of my money. No, they are not. It's not your money. It's their money that they are giving to your truck, giving to the trailer, and giving to the agent. Plus all the other stuff that they give you. Free insurance, access to LCAP and discounts and fuel and all of the support system. So the only person or group that Landstar takes any money from is the customer. They give a portion of the money they collect to the truck that pulls the trailer, that hauls the load, and the agent that booked that load. And so if you own a tractor, but you do not own a trailer, what makes you think that you are entitled to revenue that the trailer earned? We've had relationships in the past where we've borrowed a trailer. Okay. We did a really expensive load to Canada and it was heavy. And so we have a friend that has a 40-foot 4-axle trailer. He said, here, use it. And we used it. Well, that trailer got paid its portion to him. I'm not entitled to any of his money for that trailer. That's his trailer. Our truck got paid handsomely, right, for pulling this very expensive 5-figure load. But we didn't deserve a penny of the money that went to that trailer because we don't own that trailer. If you own a tractor and a trailer, what makes you think that you're entitled to 100% of the revenue that the agent earned doing the work to secure that customer? Like, if we're going to talk about apples and apples here, if you have your own authority, you own your own truck and you own your own trailer, yeah, you're going to get 100% of the money. But your truck has maintenance and your trailer has maintenance. If you booked the load yourself with the customer, you had time invested in that. You had time invested in the phone calls. You had time invested in the emails. You had time invested in everything that needed to take place to make that happen. You had time invested in finding your insurance agent, paying your insurance, staying on top of your insurance. You had time invested in making sure that your MC authority stays active. You had time invested and money making sure that you have the proper permits. You can't do that stuff for free. Now I know, and I've done it. Listen, I am as guilty as the next guy, as thinking, well, I'll do that work, meaning I won't have to pay someone else. It could be, oh, I've got a leaking wheel seal. I'll fix my own wheel seal so I don't have to pay the truck stop to do it. Okay, well, that's great. But it wasn't free because your time has a value. Yes, you did it for yourself and you saved money, and that's great. Saving money is always better than spending money. No question there. But you have to value your time. You also have to think about, what if you got hurt? You've built this business. You've bought this truck. You've bought a trailer. You've gotten your own authority. You have all these you have built this thing that provides for your family. And you trip and fall in the truck stop and you break your kneecap. Now you can't drive. Well, now what's going to happen? You better have your business set up well enough that you can hire a driver in your place. It happened to Larry in 2012, I think, 2013, maybe. Anyway, he's sitting at a stoplight, had one of them little sports car, little convertibles, and he hears screeching tires. And here comes this old girl hauling ass through the intersection, T-bones him, breaks his shoulder, compound fracture. He had to hire a guy to keep his dedicated run together. It's a very lucrative dedicated run that he had, because he couldn't just say, well, I can't do it. Find somebody else. He knew he couldn't lose that opportunity that he'd worked very, very hard to build. So he had a friend and got the friend qualified, and the friend went and drove his truck in his place for, I don't think it was 6 or 7 weeks. What are you going to do when the worst thing happens? And that's what I feel like gets lost so much in this, because those of us that have the entrepreneur spirit, we're kind of brain damaged. I mean, is this a place we can be honest with each other? Those of us that have that fire and have that spirit, there's a little something wrong up here. Okay. And so we will gaslight ourselves. Okay. Oh man, well, that ain't gonna happen to me. Oh, I'm not gonna look at that idiot over there. I'm not gonna do that really stupid thing. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You're going to get distracted. Y'all, listen, I have watched it so many times. People graduated our program. We've poured everything we can into them, and they go and they buy a truck and they take their foot off the gas, and they go on cruises and they buy Harleys, and then they don't work enough because there's nobody cracking the whip. There's nobody setting expectations. When you're in the Blue Ribbon program, I have very clear expectations that have to be met. You have leadership. Well, when you have to lead yourself, that's when you and self have a communication breakdown. Because you won't tell yourself to get up off your dead butt and go to work. Because you and yourself will talk yourself into, I made $8,000 this week. I was talking to a guy yesterday, a friend that runs the shop, and he gets referrals from other mobile mechanics around here. Once they've made their money for the month, they won't answer the phone. And if they do answer the phone, they'll say, well, call Cam's. They'll come fix it. And then they're shocked when they're broke. Oh, I don't know what happened. I do. You're sitting on your butt too much. When you're building a new business, if that's what if you want all the benefits, which the benefits to being self-employed and building and operating a business are many. Maybe part of it is because this society that we live in has led people to believe that really successful people got there because they were lazy or crooked. That's just not true. Okay. there's a scattered amongst there's some examples of people that did shady stuff and got hot quick, but they came back down very, very quickly. If you find a business that's been in operation 5, 10, 15, 20 years and you see a person at the top and they got a couple $1,000,000 laying around, let me promise you they worked harder than you could have ever dreamed of. But we don't want to do that. We're led to believe that if I open a business, I don't have to work as much as I did as an employee. Please, if you hear anything else I say tonight, it's this. If you want to open a business, you're going to work harder and sometimes for less money than you ever have in your entire life. This is not the easy button. Buying a truck, paid for cash or leasing it from Lone Mountain, buying a truck and putting it to work is hard. Much harder than being a company driver. You have to understand that you're going to have to work like an idiot to the point people say, man, I don't know why you work so much. You work too much. You need to stop and smell the roses. I will stop and smell the roses when I've got a business that's now running on its own and I got $1,000,000 in the bank. Because then the roses smell really, really good. The rest of the time they smell like dog shit. Or they're plastic roses that are not real. They're fake. Okay, so in order for Landstar agents, and now let me pause. I'm gonna pause for just a second, okay? Because this is important. This next bit that we're going to talk about, you're going to have to slow down. You have to pay attention. As we're going to move away for a moment from the 35-65% thing. Okay. But this is a big piece of the puzzle that you have to look at and you have to understand if you're going to operate trucks at Landstar. Okay. So everybody buckle up. Here we go. BCO versus approved carrier. Okay. In order for Landstar agents to provide the services that they're trying to sell, which means I'm going to a customer, I'm knocking on that door, I'm making that phone call, I'm sending that email. Hey, I want to haul your freight. I want to haul your freight. I want to haul your freight. Give me a chance. Give me a chance. Well, and the customer ultimately would have to say, okay, well, how you going to promote? Listen, look at this Landstar. I got 8,500 BCOs and I've got, I don't know, however many thousand approved carriers. I have more capacity than I can shake a stick at. If you need a truck on a certain day, I will have a truck there for you. They must be able to promise that the capacity will be available when the customer needs it. Reminder, there's never been a shipping supervisor anywhere in the history of the earth that has said, you know what, I bet some poor truck driver sitting over at the truck stop with nothing to do. Let me put a load together so they'll have something to do. That's not how that works. Their load schedule runs on their orders and their production, their supply and demand. Customer orders it, needs it on a certain day. They need it picked up on that day and they need it delivered on that day because that's what they said they were going to do. So we're supposed to come in as the service provider and say, okay, yep, you need that done. We will be there on that day with bells on and we will show up and we will do a great job for you. But what happens if a customer has a need that we've promised to provide and there's no BCO available? Or there's no BCO willing? That can be an issue, right? Because you have to make deals based on market conditions. And a customer may want a contract that doesn't have a very attractive rate to it, but you might have to take some of their dog food in order to get their really good stuff. So what are you going to do? Landstar has a process where carriers, 1 truck, 10 truck, can can become approved to haul Landstar loads in the place of a BCO. So in that vein, okay, so you have to think about this. In that vein, BCOs and approved carriers are on the same plane. They're qualified to do the same things. Landstar has vetted them to do the same things, and an approved carrier can step in the place of a BCO. I mean, there's times that they can't. There's times that the agent says, no approved carriers, BCO only. That happens. But they've got to have that capacity available to them. Okay. So these approved carriers have to be a part of the equation, because what the agent cannot do is say, sorry, I don't have a truck. Okay. Well, if you don't have a truck, then I guess I don't have any need for this contract, do I? Okay. So this is where the accusations of double brokering come from. As a BCO, I have to have access to third-party brokered loads. Okay? There's today, it was Friday and the load board was looking bleak. And at the last minute, we got a load from one of the agents that everybody hates. Well, guess what? I got a freight bill. The load's on the trailer, and it's headed to the receiver. And he's going to deliver it on Monday, and he's going to scan the paperwork, and we're going to get paid exactly what we said we're going to get paid. Now, I don't know who the broker is. I remember seeing the freight bill, but it could have been TQL, could have been C.H. Robinson, could have been JB Hunt. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I don't even care. I don't care. If I have a Landstar freight bill and I have an email from an agent that says what I'm going to get paid, that's what I'm getting paid. End of story. But here's where the problem comes in. If an agent gets a load from, say, C.H. Robinson, and they put it out there, and an approved carrier, I want y'all to hang on to that word approved. An approved carrier calls, hey man, yeah, I'll take that load. And the agent books it with that approved carrier. Well, they'll deliver it and everything will be fine until it's not. Either A, the shipper or the broker finds out that it's not actually a Landstar truck, it's Bob's trucking company. They're an approved carrier. They went through a process. They were fully vetted by Landstar in order to haul that load. That's where the freight guards come from. That's where the accusations of double brokering comes from. Do I like this process? No, I'm not a fan. Okay. And I would love for someone to give me a broader context view of this, because it seems like, now remember, anytime anybody says seems like, that is not an indication of truth or fact. It seems like if Landstar would limit agents from booking any non-Landstar direct shipper load with an approved carrier, this problem goes away. But maybe there's information I don't have. Maybe there's things that I can't see that I don't know. At the end of the day, honestly, I really don't care. I don't. I really couldn't care less. Except I'd love to do business with Anik. I'd love to do business with Steve. There's brokers, I know, there's brokers that I would love to do business with that I can't because Landstar's blocked in their system. I don't know. I'm going to BCO days in September, and maybe I can grab somebody by the ear and be like, hey, brother, please explain this to me. Because it's damaging to our brand. It doesn't look good. But the numbers are clear that we're able to do everything that we want to do and then some, being part of Landstar. So whatever somebody else thinks about it doesn't matter. But let's just remember, there has never been an instance where some carrier was just walking through their day, minding their own business, and a white van pulls up and the door slides open and they're forcibly um, you know, taken into the van by a Landstar agent and forced against their will. Y'all signed up for it. You signed up for it. That's the part I don't understand. It's like, if y'all hate Landstar so much, why are you going through a process to become approved by them to haul their freight? That's more baffling to me than the other side of it. You know, they call it co-brokering, whatever. Honestly, big picture here, guys, I honestly think in 5 years it's not going to matter because the whole system as we know it is going to be radically transformed by blockchain. And I think double brokering ends altogether anyway. Doesn't matter who's doing it, co-brokering, double brokering, whatever. It all goes away with blockchain. But for now, we have to deal with it. So there you have it. I've completed my presentation. I will take questions as you have them. But the bottom line, does Landstar take 35% of my money? No, they do not. They give me 65% of theirs. Well, actually, they give me about 72% of theirs when I have a truck and a trailer. Approved carriers don't get paid as much as BCOs. I don't think, see, that's one of those things that actually could be true, but also could be untrue. Here's the best. This may not answer your question or your comment, but it's one of the first light bulbs that came on for me. There's an agent here locally in my town that has been with Landstar before there was a Landstar. Their parents were Ranger agents way back in the day. He and I are talking. This was years ago. And we're just chatting. And I don't know how I asked him a question. And he gave me this example. He said, look, I've got a customer, and at that time they still pay really well. But back in those days, I mean, it was minimum like $3.95 a mile hazmat. He said, but they got these loads out of West Texas. Well, the rate, I think they were out of West Texas. Maybe they were going to California. Yeah, they were going to California. Okay. Well, at that time, carb and all that garbage was getting round up. And so BCOs, for the most part, didn't want to go out there, especially for the rate that the thing had to offer. And he said, so I had to put it out to approved carriers. Okay. He had to put it out at a rate where his margin, he ended up making $25. And I think if I understand it right, if he made 25, then that means the margin on the load was like $50. That was the margin. Well, if you think about it, if a BCO had taken that load based on the contract, the 65 calculation, there would have been more margin if a BCO had taken it than if a approved carrier had taken it. Now, there wasn't anything left over for anybody pretty much except $25. But it's what you got to understand. It's not a basic blanket. It's not a blanket thing. Oh, well, you know, it's just not. Rod says, not necessarily years ago. I've been here 13 years. I got paid as much as a BCO when I was another company. I had proof and had access to the board through a friend as a BCO. Well, here's the thing, Rod. You're probably a pretty good negotiator because that's where negotiations happen, right? For me, there's no negotiation. It is what it is. They get the rate and I get my piece of it, right? But if a load's going to an approved carrier, well, there's still the rate. There's still the what the customer's going to pay. But you may be able to negotiate yourself up over what I could ultimately get. The customer's still writing the same check. There's no question about that. That's not changing. But also remember the days in 2020 and 2021 where my minimum search was set at $2,000 a day. And I would call on a load that was posted for $2,200 for 400 miles. And it'd be third party. And the guy'd go, well, let me call the customer, and I'd wait. And he'd come back. Hey man, I got you 2,500 because the checkbooks were open. It was the land of milk and honey, right? You could highball people all day long and they would just take it because they were desperate. It's kind of the funny thing about us as business owners. Like we'll move heaven and earth to take care of our customer, but the minute they get in a bind, we will put our foot on their throat and just choke them till they scream and beg for mercy. Okay, let me have a look at the TikTok comments, and I'll see, of course, people that comment. They're like just like a drive by. So they don't stay around. Y'all firm on the year experience? Yes, I have no choice in the matter. I am bound to Landstar's qualification requirements. You must have 1 year, and you must have hazmat and tanker. Period. Do they assist with big breakdowns like motor and transmission? Yes. Yes, that's a huge thing. Let me tell you a little sidebar story. So if you've heard my story, if you're new to it, anyway, I bought my truck. I tried to bring it to Landstar, couldn't get through the qualification process because I was going to sit and starve to death. And so I called ATS, Anderson Trucking Service, who had been leasing a truck from, and I said, hey, can I bring my truck? And they were like, yeah, qualified me in 2 days and I'm home free. Okay. And that was in September of 2013. Fast forward to February of 2014, I was up in St. Cloud. And I just happened to be there, and I go upstairs and I'm, shaking hands. And a guy pulls me in his office. He's the vice president of the van division. And we're talking, and he goes, listen, man, you are the number one guy. He said, your numbers are killing everybody, right? You are the number one guy in this division. And I'm like, awesome. Appreciate it. I walk out of his office. Now my truck was due for its annual inspection. And in the state of Minnesota, if you have a Minnesota plate, has to be done in that state. So it's over at the Freightliner dealership. Dealership. And they gave me the $6,000 bill. I didn't have $6,000. Well, I started going through it. And I'm like, well, that's not DOT, and that's not DOT, and that's not DOT. Got it down to like $1,800, but I didn't have it. Just come off a home time. Had just spent some money on some kind of big repair. I don't remember what it was, but I didn't have it. And so I said, hey, man, I went to the fleet manager and I said, man, I need some help with this bill. And he goes, well, we're not a bank. And I turn around and I look at that corner office that I just walked out of. Mr. I'm the tip of the spear, king of the hill. And I went, y'all can't help me with an $1,800 bill. Now by this point I had friends at Landstar, and I knew how Landstar worked and contractor loans and all that stuff. And it was a matter of a phone call, which is true. It's a matter of a phone call, and you wait 2 or 3 hours and they call you back with an approval and they pay the bill, right? And $1,800 is nothing. Nothing. I don't even think it's got to go to the top floor. And they made me go to this woman in contractor services who made me beg. Bitch made me beg. I was in tears sitting at this witch's desk. And they gave it to me. And I walked out to my truck and I opened my laptop and I filled out the application for Landstar again, and I was gone in 30 days. And the last week that I was there, because I gave them notice, once I got qualified through Landstar, I said, "Hey guys, I'm out." Now, why is it you're leaving again? There's a very colorful answer to that question, with lots of adjectives and profanity laced in there. So yes. Now, let's go back to working hard. Okay. They're going to look at your settlement history. Okay. You've been phoning it in. You're not going to get, and I've seen that happen where they go, "No, we're not giving you that amount." I've seen them give 10 grand. Right. I've seen them, all right, 10,000, here you go. But they go back and they look at the settlements and they can see that you're good for it, because they're going to take $500, $600, $700 a week. It's a short-term, high-interest loan, but it can really help. Will Landstar work with you in onboarding and getting your drivers their hazmat? So yes. And this has changed because we got to have this stupid ELDT, entry-level driver training nonsense. But it's my understanding that Landstar will give you free access to the ELDT, but it also changed. So I'd have to follow up on that. I mean, where's my pen? Let me make a note, because I need to ELDT hazmat. I need to figure that out, because we do have people, because if you got your license after February 22 or something like that, you have to take this stupid ELDT, and it's hundreds of dollars, if not 1,000. But it's my understanding that Landstar will give that to prospective operators for free. But I'll come back to that. You have to be in the process. Does Landstar offer trailer rentals on the platform side? Yes, they do. It's $180 a week for a flatbed. Now, obviously, it goes up. If it's I've got the sheet somewhere. Obviously, it's more if it's like a double drop extendable RGN. But for a 48-foot flat, it's $180 a week, and they cover the maintenance. It's not a bad deal at all. I mean, we actually did the math on it, because if we're going to buy a trailer, our target for a trailer is $17,000 to $25,000. Okay. So if I'm going to expend, $15,000 to $25,000 in capital to get a revenue producing asset, then I've got to figure out how much maintenance I'm going to have to put over that. We worked it out, and at 3 years, it was almost a wash. Now, big asterisk. A 48-foot flatbed is not going to generate the kind of revenue for your tractor that a 53 will. So you have to work that into the calculation. So it's not, but if you want to get started and you don't have a trailer and you don't want to come out of pocket, yes, you can rent a platform trailer from Landstar. I've heard the onboarding process takes some time. Has that gotten better? No, it has not. It still sucks. That's another one of those things I'm going to grab somebody by the ear about BCO days. Be like, what the hell? Because listen, I talked to a guy that wants to be in our mentoring program. Okay. He's at CRST right now because of Landstar qualification process. Somebody explained to me why CRST can qualify a guy in 4 days and Landstar it takes 4 weeks. And in 2013, I sat in a hotel room for 21 days in Council Bluffs, Iowa, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and calling every day and calling every day and calling every day. I called ATS 3 days. I don't get it. I don't understand. It's one of those things that absolutely makes my blood boil about being at Landstar. But again, everything else far out. Once you get in the door, everything's great. How hard is it to bring a mini fleet on board? It's not. I would probably stair step in. Um, I mean, that's essentially what we did when Blake bought the company from Larry. I mean, obviously the trucks and everything was already here, and we just had to requalify them. Um, but yeah, did you just it's possible. Now I don't know that I've seen, but it's possible they may say, well, you got to bring one first, and then you bring one and then add two and three and four and five and six. I don't know if they're going to batch. They might, but I don't know. Almost went to Landstar. Just a couple of issues I had went with Mercer. Mercer's great. The only it's not I don't wanna say that I don't like about Mercer because 'cause I've never personally experienced it, but I've known enough people that have gone over there. That first in, first out thing, I'm not a fan of that. Now I've known plenty of people that have gone there and have gotten beyond that and around that or whatever, how you work that out. But I prefer with Landstar, look, you could come out of orientation on day 1, get hooked up to a trailer, open your computer, you see a load and you get to it before I do, it's yours. Doesn't matter that I've got multiple trucks, doesn't matter that I've been here 10 years. If you beat me to it, it's yours. Da, da, da. Were you a truck driver in the past? Yep. Yep. Started driving in 1997, drove full time until 2021. Uh, is he looking to help those who want to be on a road? Yep. Yep. Hey, this is episode 245 on YouTube. So that means there's 244 that preceded it and tells the whole story from my beginning in my first podcast episode was in 2015, but it tells the story of 2010 and forward. I mean, I tell my whole story. That's all audio. It's audio only. So on any podcasting app, um, iTunes, Podcaster, whatever, Spotify, they're all there. But it goes and tells my story, and listen, my story does not have a happy ending. Well, it does that I ended up at Blue Ribbon, but boy, it was a painful ride. Watched the guy go broke because he would say I became an owner operator and so I don't have to work as much. Yep. What's the limit for a truck for Landstar? Usually that question is going to be about truck age. Now, I know that if you call them, they'll say 2000 and newer. But it is my understanding that if it has an electronic engine and will connect to an ELD, it will qualify, which puts you back to about 96, 95, 96, 97. And has to be a sleeper. Um, Already answered that. In the Dallas area, who's a good contact? That's the thing about it, man, is your best contact in Dallas could be in Jersey, or Pennsylvania. Like there's big agencies. Okay. There's one in Ohio. There's a couple in Ohio. There's a couple in Indiana. There's a couple in Pennsylvania. There's a couple in North Carolina. And then they go out and, have freight all over the country. Cannon Brian on Facebook, I can attest to the age I signed on last year. Guy at my orientation had a 96 freight shaker. I know that and I think the reason they're saying that is because of ELD. They're thinking 2000 and up because of the ELD, because you have to run an ELD. You're not running paper. Deal with it. I'm working for Landstar. If you take a load for 5,000, you get 2,500 facts. Nope. You need a new calculator. What is the limit? Oh, we already talked about that. How much fuel you using? Well, how much fuel you using? So our average, I had a report the other day, what I do with it. Well, I don't have it open right now. We're paying on average, I want to say about $3.19 a gallon. And on average, we're spending $1,200 to $1,600 a week on fuel. when you took your lease truck from ATS, how was that process? When I am not sure. So I was leasing a truck from them, 2011 Pete. Couldn't keep it out of the shop, and I just took it back and told them, wish them the best of luck. And then I rode a bus back to Omaha and I bought my truck from Lone Mountain, an '07 Freightliner. And I waited and waited and waited and waited. And then, and then I stayed there from September to like right at the end of February. I know my onboarding with Landstar the first time was March 14th, 2014. Curious to why you choose to only run Freightliners. Well, we don't only run Freightliners. I prefer Freightliners because of, wait for it, the BSE 9000. Cheap, reliable, affordable, efficient. Went to Great White because Landstar took too long to listen, this onboarding thing is insane. During the onboarding process, can you continue running? Yes. Do you have APUs on your truck? No. I hate APUs with a passion. I mean, it's just, God, I hate them. Now, I will say this. We don't have personal experience with them, but my friend Steve has found a guy that builds the electric APUs, and he says they're awesome. They're also $8,000. Buy a lot of fuel for $8,000. Been heavily considering dreaming of getting a 90s Max CH613. Listen. I mean, I drove a one stack Mac with a window in the back. Look, man, if it's paid for and you have the mechanical knowledge and understanding to work with someone, work with a good shop to keep it running, run the shit out of it, man. It's fine. I just where I lose my mind on the new trucks is people acting like they're magic. Oh, I got a new truck. I'm not going to have any problems. I got a warranty. God help you. Why do you hate them? What did I just say that I hate? Oh, APUs. Expensive. Y'all, listen, we bought this 04 that we have. We bought it in 2019. We've put almost 600,000 miles on it, and it had a tri-pack on it. Okay. And at the time we bought it, it worked. Kind of. Brother, we could have bought a year's worth of fuel for what we spent on that damn thing. I don't know if y'all been to a Thermo King dealer lately, but their labor rates are insane. And their parts, oh my God. I just hate APUs. What's wrong with APUs? I mean, they only break down every 2 months. They're just awful. But the electrics sound pretty promising. I mean, they sound pretty promising. So, what do you think about super singles? Oh, brother, are you in the right place? I love super singles. Now, I have had to, sadly, this last week, I took 4 good super singles off of a truck and put duals on because super singles can't carry the weight that duals can, and we're going to be hauling heavy with that truck. And so I listen, I used a lot of really, really horrible language putting those duals on. I hate them. Oh, with a passion. But the truck's got to be able to haul 20,000 per axle, and the super singles won't do that. They're only good for Rockies in here. What are they good for? About 8,500 a piece. So you can't put the weight on an axle with 2 super singles that you can with 4 duals. So that sucks. But no, I don't think so. Because I don't think you can put 10 grand on a super single. Well, I guess if you put enough air in it, but Do you keep a spare running super singles? Nope. No, we don't. Listen, Larry started running super singles in 2009. Okay. So that was, let's do the math together, 16 years ago. And in that 16 years, we had, it was either 4 or 5 blowouts. When you consider the amount of fuel money that was saved by running super singles versus duals for 16 years, it was enough to cover the service call. And we only ever lost one wheel. And that was just recently. We had one blow, I don't know, 2 months ago. And we lost the wheel. But the first 3 or 4 times, we did not lose a wheel. And for those of you that love to say, well, I can limp it in. Yeah, wait until the DOT gives you an out of service violation and a bunch of CSA points. What are the modifications, components you put on your trucks to performance and live longer? Well, number one is low rolling resistance tires. And everybody's got a good one. Yokohama's got a good one. Bridgestone's got a good one. Michelin has the best. Low rolling resistance tires. But if we're going to write that particular check, we're going to go see an MD alignment, a good MD alignment dealer, which is Jacksonville, Florida, Charleston, West Virginia, Kansas City, Missouri, Michigan, Jim Fowler, or Arizona to Alignment Solutions. And we're going to have our entire suspension. If I bought a truck right now today, the very first thing that is going to happen before anything else happens is it's going to an MD shop, which fortunately I have one here in Charleston, and it's going to get kingpins, tie rods, bushings all inspected. And if it's got more than 400,000 miles, most of them are going to be bad. Right? So pretty much on day one, Allen, Michigan, thank you, Rod, is Jim Fowler. On day one, it's going to get spring bushings, tie rod assembly, and probably kingpins. Because if they're not wore out, they're getting ready to be, because nobody greases them properly. Nobody. That's the first thing. But now that it's had a proper alignment, not on a hunter machine, once it's got a proper alignment, now we're going to put good tires on it. Because what I'm not going to do is spend $10,000 on tires and have a bad suspension destroy those tires in 6 months. You should get 200,000 miles out of a set of steers, and you should get 350 to 400 out of a set of drives. But you have to align the truck properly, you have to inflate the tires properly, and you have to monitor and rotate the tires properly. It's a whole lot less about where you buy them and what brand they are than how you take care of them. Underinflation kills tires. So when y'all see a Gator laying on the interstate, it's not because it was a recap. Virgins blow as much as recaps do, because when you run an air out of a tire, it will heat up and explode 100% of the time. Do we still have the shop? We do not. Our shop was a short-lived experiment that was absorbed into CAM's service center in Charleston, West Virginia. Is $8K for 5 days average owner op gross and about $1,800 in fuel sound normal, low, or decent? Thinking of buying a truck. Yeah, $8,000 for 5 days is good. $1,800 in fuel. I would want it to be $1,800 or less, but I've seen a truck go, well, let me open this spreadsheet real quick. Fuel card. Cause listen, y'all know damn well I got a spreadsheet for everything. So what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I'm counting weeks. 19, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. What are we? What are we? 31. We're 30 some weeks in. I've got a truck that has spent 38,000 this year, which that's the truck that does a lot of over-dimensional, oversized. I've got a truck that's done my top 2 revenue trucks, one has done 38,000 in fuel, one has done 34,000 in fuel. So divide that by however many weeks. So yeah, I'd want to be closer to 1,400 in fuel average. How's the dry van division? Better than the market. Let me think about that. I did a video on TikTok. Was that for the year? Oh gosh, now I can't remember. I did it for the top 2 trucks. I think that was just for the month, but I was trying to look and see if I had this in my download folder. Anyway, our van truck has done really well this year. Now, he has run his balls off. I mean, like he's on fire. But his average gross, I can tell you that. I can tell you that for sure. His average gross pulling a van, let's go from May, the first week of May to last week, his average is $8,512 gross. Pulling a van at Landstar. Now, I can't tell you right off exactly how many miles that was and how that breaks down. But y'all, 8,500 a week. Pulling general freight in a van at Landstar. Before, after. I don't do after. I talk about what the customer's spending. My wife and I are teams. What can we average at Landstar? I would say take what a really good solo can do and do 1.5. Okay. So I've just illustrated that I have a guy. Now, he came to me as a former BCO, so he was already accustomed to the system. I didn't have to teach him a lot. He came in with some knowledge, and I said, the world is your oyster, have at it. And boy, did he have at it. So if he's doing 8,500 average, then let's do that times 1.5. Then that's 12,750. That's dry van freight. Okay. So here's what you have to understand about running team at Landstar. Is there team freight at Landstar? Yes. Is there a lot of it? No. But there's a lot of drop and hook. There's a lot of stuff that a solo would have to take 2 days, but you could deliver overnight, right? Stuff that has open windows. So we kind of call it running super solo. Okay. So that's one side of the equation. That's getting you in the door, and we're going to come in and we're going to shoot for, say, 15,000 a week. But if we get 12.5 in the beginning as we're getting our feet wet and we're understanding things, that's a good goal. Get you started. Okay. And if we go back in our presentation, if you were here earlier, there are opportunities that exist at Landstar that exist nowhere else. You can make that 12 grand in a day or two. Okay. So think about that. So I want you to have reasonable expectations. I want you to come in and I want you to work hard. I want you to communicate. I want you to market yourself. All right. Um, through how you communicate with the agents and build up that reputation. And then you'll start networking with other BCOs. Listen, y'all, I got to get some of y'all to understand this. You want some of the secret sauce? Other BCOs, in many cases, will be your best marketing opportunity. Let's think about that. There are BCOs that have existing relationships with agents that have ridiculously high paying freight, stuff you can't even dream about. Well, at some point, that agent's going to be like, hey, do you know somebody? Oh, yeah. Hey, there's a team that just started at Landstar. They've been here about 6 months. They do a really, really good job. They have high praise from agents. They're really good at communicating. Let's give them a try. Because I see this all the time. This is my peek behind the curtain with platform over the last year is the number of times that we get a call because somebody else got a call. Or somebody else got a call because we got a call. We got a call. Hey, we got this big load and I'm covered up. I don't have anybody. Let me call Joe. Hey, Joe, what are you doing? Oh, yeah, no, I'm good. All right, well, Joe will do it. It's a when you get to that level, it's a collaborative effort because we're all trying to do the same thing. Number one, we want that big high dollar ass freight and we want to keep it. So we will move heaven and earth to get it moved. But if you're a shithead or a moron, I'm just saying. You heard me? Okay. Suspension work. Okay, let's go back to this. I got off the topic. Okay, suspension work, tires. If it's a pre-emission truck, I'm putting a Pittsburgh Power muffler on it. I'm putting an OPS on it, and I'm putting a fleet air filter. If it's a DPF and newer truck, obviously the muffler doesn't do me any good. I'm still going to put an OPS on it, and I'm still going to put a fleet air filter on it. And I'm going to run the catalyst and flashpoint, and that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, Rocky, good point. So listen, and if I get a truck that's new to me and it's got 400,000 miles or more, maybe 3, if it's rubber, it's getting replaced. So rubber coolant hoses, belts, if it's plastic or rubber, and I even think that it can cause me a problem, it's getting replaced because I would much rather, let's think about it. Let's walk through it. I pull the truck in the shop, I pop the cork, and I drain all the coolant out of it. Every radiator hose, every heater hose. I go over the whole thing, and what I see that could potentially some thing that probably costs $50 that can cause a $900 road call. Oh, it's getting replaced right now. Right now. What do you mean by catalyst and flashpoint? Okay. Pittsburgh Power, our friends at Pittsburgh Power, have developed a product called Max Mileage Fuel-Borne Catalyst. We have been using it since 2019. And I can testify that we do not have crazy emissions problems with our trucks because we keep the soot level down by running the catalyst. And we call it the catalyst. It's called Max Mileage. You can find it on Pittsburgh Power's website. Max Mileage Fuel-Borne Catalyst. Now they developed a new product called Flashpoint, which is like a cetane booster and water emulsifier. We used to run a thing called FPPF, Fuel Power, because water, diesel attracts water from condensation and the hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, running through the motor and get dumped back in the tanks. And that's what causes algae and asphaltene. And so years ago, we started running that fuel power because it was a water emulsifier and it would get rid of the water. Well, now Flashpoint does the same thing, and there's a little dispenser bottle, and you can mix the Flashpoint and the catalyst together. Catalyst is 1 ounce for every 25 gallons of fuel. So if you put 200 gallons in, you're only going to put in 8 ounces. It's $225 a gallon, and it treats 3,200 gallons. So please don't spill it ever, because it stinks. Richie can testify to that, but he's drunk in Mexico right now. So it's $225 a gallon. You can buy it on our website, blueribbonlogistics.com. You can get it straight from Pittsburgh Power to Iowa 80 carries it. It's more expensive when you buy it at a truck stop. But you can buy it from us. We'll ship it out to you. You can pick it up here in Charleston. So does the catalyst affect negatively the fuel system? It does not. Detroit doesn't want additives. Well, all I can tell you is that from the time we bought a DD15 in 2019 and we started running the catalyst, and we have a 17 International with a Cummins, and knock on wood, in 6 years, 5 3/4, we don't have crazy emissions problems. Do we have to service the emission system occasionally? Yes. But I am a 100% absolutely sold out, bought in on the catalyst, 100%. And the other thing you have to think about is, we had a relationship with Kevin Rutherford back to 2009. Okay, and so Kevin had all of these owner operators, and they operated like a focus group, and they all tested this stuff and tested it and tested it and tested it and tested it. And so I don't have anything bad to say about it. Except that it stinks. And if you spill it in your truck, you will regret it. So keep it upright. Don't ever spill it, because it's bad. I just ran from Laredo to Edison and back, spent $24.50 on fuel. Wow. Average speed 68. I feel it's a little bit too much on fuel. That seems high. Let me see. Let me do some math. Edison, Laredo to Edison. Laredo. Oh, you stupid phone. Laredo. Come on. Learn how to type. Laredo to Edison, New Jersey. You spent $24.50 for the whole trip. And of course, now Google Maps is not going to load because it's all okay. So that's 1920 times 2. So 38.40. So what we say, 24.50 divided by 38.40, 63 cents. Yeah, that's high. Ours would probably be 40, high 40s. So what I say, 1920 times 2 times 0.49, we'd have probably been 1,800. So yeah. If you're running an 08 Columbia, then that should be a Series 60, but DDEC 6. DDEC 6 you can actually legally delete, I think. But I would have someone do I want an overhead, a good overhead by like somebody that actually knows what they're doing. And I would also test the charge air cooler to make sure you're not losing boost. Because you should be getting better. Well, but also, I mean, my average cost of fuel was pretty damn cheap. I mean, I need to open a browser real quick, but let me go to my fuel gauges here, and I'll go to my platform truck, and I'll go all year. So let's go back to January 1st to now, 45 cents a mile, $3 a gallon. So yeah, I mean that's my top platform truck. And if I go to the top van and I do the same thing, I go to January 1st and I go to today, he's 46 cents and $3 a gallon. So yeah, your fuel cost is way high. But again, my cost is $3. Well, if your cost is 350 or 375, right? Um, not sure you went over views on NTP. Okay. Buckle up. We have NTP on one of our trucks. Okay. Now, I warn you again, we got this guy out and we calculated what it's going to cost, $3,900 or something, and the risk that we're taking. And so we went, you know what? It makes sense. What I hate about number one, I hate the fact that they're called warranties. If they call them a service plan, I wouldn't be as apoplectically rage filled as I get around this topic. If they would call it a maintenance plan or service contract or something like that, because it's not a warranty. Warranties are given by OEMs. Period. Back to the Roman Empire. Warranties have been something that have been offered by manufacturers or someone selling a good that's giving you some kind of guarantee that hey, I'll take care of you. It's the attitude, well, I've got a warranty. I'll jump out of an airplane. I don't have a parachute, but I've got a warranty that says I'm not going to hit the ground. That's my problem with it. Is people treat it like it's magic. And it is not, because there's a trade-off. And I have watched this happen with my own eyes in the shop. Okay. Last year, truck gets towed in, clutch is blown out of it. Hey, we got a warranty. Y'all, the amount of nightmare. I watched Chris Dolan lose his mind dealing with these cubicle monster idiots at these warranty companies that just want to make you jump through hoops and jump through hoops and jump through hoops and jump through hoops. Because the reality of that situation, if they would have come in and written a check, I have watched those guys do a clutch in a day. One day. So I've literally seen a truck be towed in Monday night. Tuesday morning, he started working on it, and Tuesday afternoon, they left. This thing with the warranty was there almost 2 weeks. So will they pay the bill and a portion of the bill? Yes. At what cost? Truck should make $1,000 a day. Sets for a week and a half. That's $10,000 to $15,000 in lost revenue. I mean, it's at least 7,000 or 8,000 in lost revenue because you're sitting around waiting and fighting. You're not doing it. The shop is. Go on. You're on TikTok. Go to Royalty Auto Service. Great little shop, automotive shop down in where they at? Down in South Florida, close to Jacksonville. The videos that they have dealing with these warranty companies, it's just awful. Okay. So it's not a magic bullet. Okay. You are going to lose money somehow. You pay $4,000 for the warranty. It's got to pay at least $4,000 for it to be worth it. Okay. But just understand what you're getting into. It's not magic. And it does not absolve you of having a maintenance account. Because sometimes I'd almost rather you swipe a high estrus credit card and be fixed in a day than lose $5,000 sitting around waiting on this stupid warranty company to approve the repair. So it's not magic. It is not magic. Please stop treating it like it is. Okay. What do you do as far as emissions and maintenance, and how often you do it? Well, our big emissions maintenance is the catalyst. That's the big thing. There's also a service called diesel force cleaning. They do it in Charleston, where they hook up this machine to your truck and they run a high density foam all through, and then they take your filters out and we send them down to DPF Alternatives, which is a really, really good aftermarket place that cleans DOCs and DPF filters and all that stuff. So if you bring me a 17 to 21 truck right now, like I said before, I'm going through the suspension first. Next thing I'm doing, diesel force cleaning. I'm gonna pull the filters out, send them off to have them checked and cleaned. And then I'm gonna run the diesel force cleaning, which is gonna clean the EGR and the EGR cooler, and it goes through the whole motor and cleans everything out. I've got a video on TikTok and probably on YouTube too from when we had the shop. Y'all, the nastiness that comes out of that thing when you run that diesel force cleaning, it's incredible how much just disgusting muck comes out of that tailpipe. And then we have the filters cleaned. Then I know I'm good for 3 to 500,000. And then at that point, the catalyst is just a maintenance, ongoing maintenance thing. um, right now we have 2 trucks with DPF. We have a 17 Freightliner and we have a 17 International. Obviously, one's got a Detroit, one's got a Cummins. Why is my camera out of focus? That does not bring joy. Might have been that stupid move that I made earlier. So do y'all have them on your trucks? Have what on our trucks? Let's see. What percentage of your driver students leave Blue Ribbon and join Landstar as a VCO? So we've had 3 or 4 so far. Leave. One of them he pulls a trailer that we own, a Conestoga. Unfortunately, I've watched a couple go BBCOs and fail because they didn't work hard enough. And one of them for sure will tell you that, honestly. The other ones may not admit it. I just started Landstar, waiting for a van trailer. Do you have any tips for me? Yes, you were assigned some classes, online classes. Get them done today while you're waiting for your trailer. Also, get on the board and create yourself a load alert for agency code SOS. You go to your search page, you go over where it says agency code and put in SOS, and then save it. And if a broke down truck pops up, you can go rescue the load. And most of the time, you get to keep the trailer. Rocky, a tire pressure monitor system. That's something else that we put in all the trucks. Because again, underinflation kills tires. How's the platform work out of East Texas, Louisiana? It's good. Houston, don't get much west of Houston. There you go. Yeah, you're good to go. Listen, it'll come along. Obviously, I'm y'all, if we're going into business in any other industry, except trucking and mechanics, we're going to go like I was riding the lawnmower the other day, and I thought, what if I wanted to put this lawnmower to work? Well, obviously I don't own that one. My mother-in-law owns it. So I'd go buy me a mower, cheap mower, as cheap as possible, pay for it. And then I'm going to study the market. and I'm gonna look and see what people are paying to get their lawns mowed. And I'm gonna go around and start knocking on the door. Hey, can I mow your grass? Here's how much I'll charge. And I'm gonna charge less than 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 what the market's charging because I want to get my foot in the door. So, you know, stop cutting cheap grass, right? Then I'm gonna go find some places that are grown up and maybe there's some elderly people there, and I'm gonna offer to mow theirs for free because their family members are gonna find out about that and be like, "Wow, man, that guy came over and mowed my mom's yard for free." Do y'all see where I'm going with this? I'm gonna pay cash for the equipment. I'm gonna go undercut my competition to get started because I'm gonna have a super low cost of operation. I'm gonna go undercut the competition on purpose. And I'm gonna go do a bunch of work for free to try to expand my customer base. And then the better I get at it and the more that I do, and then I can start raising my price a little bit, raising my price a little bit. There was a guy that, used to cut our grass years ago when I was over the road, and I wanna say I was paying him like $40 a week. Okay. We didn't have a big yard. And this dude, man, he was a superstar. I mean, he come in and the damn tailgate was down before he stopped, and boom, off and around the house and weeded and gone in 30 minutes. Well, there came a time, or it's a time right now, you cannot hire him to cut grass. He still has the same business, but I can't hire him to cut grass. You know why? Because he's doing big landscaping projects. Mowing grass is not worth his time anymore. It's beneath him. He earned it. All righty. Can you as an approved carrier run a Landstar trailer? I think so, but I would call someone with more qualifications to answer that question than me. Does Landstar do heavy haul Conestoga loads? I run a 3-axle Conestoga. I would say yes. Now, are you going to run one every day? No. Are they out there? Probably. I mean, there's a load that we haul that we can haul with one truck and not have to buy permits because the truck's light. And there's another truck we haul it with, but when we haul that exact same load, we have to buy permits for, because the truck's heavier, right? There's stuff out there. I promise you there's stuff out there. The question is, are you going to communicate, network, and market yourself enough to get access to it? I don't know. Will you? Okay, well, hour and 48 minutes. That's probably good enough for now. Hopefully, this will not set the internet on fire. I'm sure is what it is. I keep getting this comment over and over again, especially on my TikToks. Man, why you keep doing? Why you keep arguing with these people? Well, who else? What are we going to do? Are we going to leave the liars and the charlatans and the demagogues and let them keep lying to people? Or am I just going to? Because I wanted to know. I was curious 15 years ago when I went, I think there's some value to being an owner operator. I really do. I had to figure it out all on my own. It was hard. I made a lot of mistakes, ended up failing. So why not put this information out? Why not? It's just unfortunately in this time that we live, there's a lot of really, really ignorant people that don't have any knowledge based on experience whatsoever. But boy, they like to talk about it. And then when the people come along, when I come along, when Redbeard, Anik, and Steve, and these people that are really, really good at their craft, and they try to go, no, listen, I'm a broker. I know how this works. I've been doing this for years. You don't know. You're just a lying crook. Really? That's where we've come to. But the good news is, when you have, I've told my kids this, all right? My daughter's 19, my son's 16 and 10. I said, y'all, the great news is with all these idiots everywhere, it's never been easier. It literally has never been easier to just show up and the customer goes, oh, thank God. Thank God somebody's here to serve my needs that's not a complete mouth breathing moron. The the relief, I felt it. I felt it. There's a dude I saw TikTok earlier. This guy, he works in somehow in the construction field and he goes into a Wendy's and he goes, listen, y'all, I need 35 baconators. Fully expecting them to lose their minds. And they got to work. And they made him 35 baconators. And he was shocked. He said, I've never experienced service like that in my life. So you know how relieved, if you've ever been in that situation where you go, oh, God, this is so awesome. The service was so incredible. Be that guy or girl or whatever. It's 2025. Be the one that solves the problem. Jason Goodson. Yeah, that's him. Be that. I promise you won't regret it. Somebody, dude, ask the question. You need a question answered, and guys, ask the question. Whatever it is, you keep saying, hey, 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 I'm here. Ask your question. You got about 8 minutes. I'm gonna shut it down at 2 hours. I just, I had an experience last week with this airbag thing on the trailer. Ed's 24-hour service in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. They did a great job. Though we went in there for an airbag and ended up getting a transload. They didn't overcharge us. Just like literally 10 minutes before I went live, my phone rings. Got a Conestoga trailer that I knew needed some welding done on it. Well, the driver calls me, hey man, this guy's found some stuff, and he starts telling me, listen, I can fix that, but also found this, and I found that, and found this, and found that. You know how awesome that is when I have a guy that says, well, you sent me here to do this, but I also found this, and this is probably a bigger deal than what you called me for. Should you buy a cash truck in this economy and start an romp? Yeah. Listen, if you, I don't mean this to sound, I don't mean to be a dick, but if you use this economy, you watch too much television. Buy a cash truck and go be a superstar. Go find somebody to serve, put their needs ahead of your own, and you will make a pile of money. Are we looking for any drivers? Yes. Go to blueribbonlogistics.com, read about the masterclass. But we don't hire just drivers. We hire drivers specifically for our masterclass. How hard is it to get good loads compared to people that's been there a few years? It's not. That's what the load board's for. Now, are you going to get all the same opportunities that I've got? No. But that's why you network. You network with agents, you network with other BCOs, you talk to people. And you build relationships and it opens doors. If I start out doing step deck, I would not do that. I would start out with a flatbed, not a step deck. Is there step deck freight at Landstar? Yes. Is there really good paying step deck freight at Landstar? Yes. Is there enough of it? No. Do they have good lanes to get back home to Arkansas where I live? Yeah. As long as you don't live in Florida or California or Maine. I want to come out again, but I need better fuel mileage. 14 liter turbo Eaton 10 speed 350 rears. Good tires. Well, yeah, that's right. There are plenty of loads to Florida. There's just nothing out. Is it better to use their trailer or buy your own? Vans, it's better to use theirs. You need to you really, 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 really have to escalate up into the higher echelons of freight before you buy a van. Um, use theirs. It's free. Does it occasionally come with problems? Yes, overcome them. You're a business owner. Wow, 13 years ago, started out with 5 trucks, 5 trailers, 5 drivers. We're up to 300 drivers now. Nice. Big bird. Well done. Let me promise y'all, I don't know Big Bird. Let me promise y'all, Big Bird's got a work ethic. You hear me? Big Bird's not been sitting around with his thumb up his butt. He's been working, or she, or both of them, whatever. Regularly surprised my face isn't blue. Well, sometimes it gets red. Um, oh, did a guy ask a question and I missed it? What did I say about Upper Sandusky? We met a shop up there. I make 150 this year. Company driver will cash out 401k to buy a truck, and we'll have no. You do not cash out a 401k to buy a truck. No, no. That's mathematically stupid. Go talk to a decent, um, like estate planner. Do not cash out a 401k to buy a truck. Absolutely not. Best setup for a 14 liter is 342 or 358. I prefer 350. Most of them you're going to find are 358s, or it's an old Schneider truck, a 264 with a direct drive 10 speed. Building trailer manufacturer. Oh, okay. Y'all, Florida's Florida. Florida has not changed for a long ass time. Okay. Florida is a consumption state. It's old people and vacationers. They don't make stuff down there. It's supply and demand. So if you're going to Florida, you better get paid going in because you're not getting paid coming out, or you're going to deadhead out. Why we're surprised by that? It's Florida. It is what it is. Now, is the northern part as bad? No, but it still sucks. You're not getting $2.50 a mile. But yeah, you're going into Georgia if you want good rate, right? But you're going to have to. Rocky says all we have is orange juice and post holes. Yeah, Hawkeye's over here. High tax penalties for pulling money out of a 401. Do not buy. Lord have mercy. Do not cash out a 401k to buy a truck. Lord, oh God. What's the percentage of loads that never hit the Landstar board? I have. I mean, it's impossible to answer. There's a bunch of them, but think about it this way. I did the same load for 7 years. There's no need to post it. They already knew who the load board is an advertisement. That's where you go to get a truck when you don't have a truck. Well, if you've already got a truck, you don't need to advertise it. So why would my load go on board? And then, like I said before, the platform community, there is no van community, okay? But platform, there's a community. And people get to know one another and they get to know who has what skills, who has what equipment, right? Phil's got a 53-foot stretch flatbed. Well, if they need a stretch flatbed, they're not going to call me. I can't help you. But I can be like, well, I don't have one. Phil does. And they'll call Phil, and Phil's like, "Well, I'm already on a load, but I know a guy that has a 53-foot stretch flatbed. Call that guy," right? The networking and marketing of yourself and your business and your equipment. There's people that own multiple pieces of equipment that they don't personally pull. They've bought it and it sits there until somebody needs it. Hey, you need a 40-foot 4-axle flat? Yeah. Okay, we'll go over and get it and bring it back when you're done with it. Um, in short, Landstar or not? Well, yeah, you need to when this ends here in a few minutes, you need to go back and watch the whole thing. It's 2 hours long, and it'll instantly replay on YouTube. But we're 2 hours, 1 minute. That's enough for tonight. I'm starting to lose my voice. So, adios. We'll see you next Friday.